Well, hello! You should be most welcome back to Jimarism Total Nerdery channel. We're back in Satisfactory, and here you can see this beautiful little world here. And today I'm going to show you basically how to set up an aluminium production, because it's kind of complex. And yeah, I really would have wanted to have this guide, I believe, when I started making this, because I have a failed production like far over there somewhere. Oh, no, over there somewhere. That's right. Bauxite production. Yeah, so here we're going to make a proper production, because I have found a pure bauxite source and I want to make the aluminium production here. Now the tricky thing with bauxite to make all aluminium, and it's called aluminium, not aluminum, because aluminium is makes more sense. I think it's the British English variant, I don't know. I'm from Sweden, but anyways. So basically, a thing is, you just don't need to have a miner and a smelter and be done with it. You have to have a lot of other things as well. So clearly, when finding this spot, I've had to take a lot of materials and come back here to be able to start setting up here. So here you can see we have my little starter base, just to kind of understand how to make this. I've just set up this little camp here and just figuring around to understand exactly how we make this. Now, we need a lot of other components, and those components are silica and oil. So here you can see, if we look at the map here, I believe you see my mouse here. Here's my failed production. Here around is my oil production, somewhere here. And I've drawn a pipeline there, and then I've taken my pipeline here. So we have oil. And if you don't have oil close by, you have to somehow get oil. Either if you make that with train fluid transport, or if you make that with pipelines, or if you find a new, you can just search for oil, find a new source kind of nearby and make a pipeline. That's up to you, but you need to somehow get oil to your place. Or of course you can also get coke here. You can make a coke production and get it here, but you need it to make the aluminium. Then you'll also need silica. And yes, I am aware that the production, when you kind of distill it in the first step, you get silica, but you only get a small amount, so you actually need to have silica. And I have my silica production up here. So I taken the silica line and just drawn a conveyor belt kind of to here, which you can see here. Now, I don't know if I'll show you this ugly chart I made, but for this little setup, you'll need around 210, or basically something like that, silica. Or actually, because we will get around 60 silica from the bauxite, you only need 150. If you reuse the silica you produce on site, but you'll need at least 150 silica per minute to uphold the production. And that's kind of necessary. You can't skip it out, because if you do skip it out like I did on my other aluminium production site, you'll have to go there manually and empty some tanks every once in a while, because otherwise the production stops. So you really need that silica, okay? Yeah, so just search for quartz, and if you have a closer quartz deposit than the one you already have, then you should of course make a new little silica production. But I wanted to say, like, you need more than 120, like you need at least 150, which means you actually need Mark III conveyors to uphold the full production that we will show here. Anyways, you need that, and of course we'll need some kind of electricity. Now you can make localized electric production, but I've connected this up to my main line. And you know, I've actually connected like the energy production there, there and there, so we'll have a big incredible mess of wires all over. So we have like 4 megawatts, which I think it's pretty nice. Yeah, well anyways, to make the first step to set up our aluminium production, please get your chainsaw and get some biofuel and just take away these trees, because we're gonna make this nice. And I'll be back to you when I've cleaned this area up and we're gonna start to just set out a foundation basically. So bear with me, or actually I'll just not record this part, so see you soon. Now, did you know that you cannot remove these pesky plants with the chainsaw, but you can blow them away? So if you have some spore spreading evil gucky stuff, just blow them away. Very beautiful. And yeah, I'm gonna remove those last ones, but I'm just wanting to show you the amazing result. I'm going to completely loose with the chainsaw, and you can see we have well more than necessary space to make our aluminium production right here on this big spot here. So that's pretty beautiful. You can also see the pipeline going in here. You can see the silica coming in here, and there is one more thing you'll actually need, which I forgot to tell you. Of course, you don't need to have it right here, but you might as well have it right here, because most of the aluminium you make, you will create this copper-clad or alclad sheets, whatever they're called here, alclad aluminium sheets, and you'll need copper to do that. So make sure you have a copper source nearby if you want to have all the production in one place. And of course I've located that, and indeed. Anyways, I'm gonna blow away those last toxic plants. Unfortunately, you can't blow away these grotesque gucky things. You can't blow them away, it's so annoying. But you can blow the plants away, so I'm going to do that. Can we blow away flowers? I haven't tested. Yes, we can actually blow away flowers too. That's amazing. Anyways, I'm gonna make the platform and we'll be back for setting it up. Oh, and I didn't know this. You can actually use the explosives for cutting down trees. Isn't this pretty beautiful? I wish I'd known this before. Okay, you don't need a chainsaw, you just need hell of a lot of explosives. And if you want to have hell of a lot of explosives, make a factory that actually produces explosives for you, like I have done. I think I showed you that in an earlier video, so check the playlist. Anyways, happy blasting. Ladies and gentlemen, see this beautiful denaturalized landscape. Like, look at this, it's just a concrete slab. None of that pesky nature. Fantastic. It's now time to start setting up our production. And I'm not sure if I'm going to show this horrible little thing I wrote on a piece of paper on screen or not. But basically, for this setup, which is kind of the minimal setup you should make, it will produce 120 aluminum ingots per minute, if I calculated correctly. And what you need is 210 bauxite per minute, like drawn from the mine. So dependent on your place, this is a pure source, and this is like a normal source. I think you'll need to use boosters or something if you have impure sources, but I think this pure source is going to be quite fine. So we're going to set up the mine, and then we're going to set up the other facilities. After this one, we will need... Oh, one thing we also need is water. I totally forgot that. Yeah, you not only need bauxite, coke, silica, kind of copper, not totally necessary. Did I forget anything? I don't know. But you also need water. So fortunately we have some kind of water close by here. Here we can see. We can reuse some of the water. That is true that we can reuse some of the water because when we purify it we'll get some water back, but we'll need 100 water per refining station in the beginning here, and we'll only get, how much is it, like 60 water back or something, which means we'll need 240 water per minute. I probably should show you this little chart here, but it's kind of messy, I don't know. Anyways, we'll need water, but we're going to begin with setting up the mine. And I'm going to have a miner Mark II, so we should be able to just, if we can kind of align it there, it should probably be the best. And we can of course just hook it up and we can see how much this produces. This one produces 240 parts per minute. We can drag it down so it produces as close to 210 parts per minute, which should be the baseline we need. Now we need to take this 210, so we'll need at least a Mark III one, I believe. And we're going to divide it up to our refineries. And for this setup we'll have one source that produces 210, which is only one mine for my case, which may be more for yours, then you need to combine the mines. Then you will need 3 initial refining stations. So refineries, we're gonna have 3 refineries here. And these refineries, they'll also need water, of course. So you'll need to make them have access to water. But we're just going to begin lining 3 of them up like this. And we're going to connect bauxite and water. So let me set up some water facilities. And remember, if you don't reuse the water, which you probably have to do anyways because you need to get rid of it somehow, yeah, you'll need 240 water. If all my calculations, oh come on, be deep enough. Yeah, okay, I'm just going to solve this water issue. Yeah, turns out there's a tiny spot here which actually can support water here. So 240, each one produces 120, so 2 of them should be exactly how much we need. We'll just pair that up with a fluid buffer and we should be completely okay. Alright, let me connect them up and drag them back to base. And I'll be back. Alright, we have water flowing here. We actually found a spot which can keep like 2 of them. And we put water through the line here and you can see it's pretty level. So basically what I did, I just put this here to kind of check the speed. And we can see the water is flowing at like top speed. We don't need to use any extra pumps. But if your speed like is slower than 240, you'll need to solve that problem, of course. We're going to make this a little bit nicer, of course. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have, I think we'll have, just to be fairly on the safe side, we're going to have a Mark IV conveyor down here. And then I'm gonna put it up with some splitters and divide them to these ones. And I'm also going to, of course, connect the water to each of these. Because if we go in here, we can check up here. We can see that aluminium solution. So this is what we want to have. It takes 7 bauxite and 10 water. 100 per minute, 70 per minute. And 7 times 3 is 21. Which is why we want at least 21 from this one. Kind of makes sense, right? So we'll set up all these to aluminium solution and I'm going to connect up the bauxite and the water and of course the electricity, and we'll go from there. Alright, this step is now set up. You can see here we have a fluid buffer going into all of these beautiful things. We have the pipes going through there. I don't need a flashlight anymore. To all of these 3 production facilities, and we have bauxite going into them as well. The only thing that remains is connecting up the power, and I'm going to show you that it now will work. Alright, so they are already set up, and you can see here, if we go in here, we'll get silica, and we will get the precious alumina solution. Here you can see, fantastic. It just makes that. So now we'll need to go to the next step. And for this step, we will need to add coke. And coke is of course a part of is of course a part of the oil we'll have back there. So we'll need to make a facility that produces coke. And of course we will also need to remove the silica from these what are they even called? Refineries? Refineries. That's right. So basically what remains now is you can see my silica line over there. I'm going to connect the outputs of these 3 refineries to the silica line there. So we can basically combine those. Otherwise you'll need to put these outputs to a sink to just delete the silica for you. You could do that as well, of course, but I'm going to combine them because I want to be conservative with my resources. Then I'm going to mix up the alumina solution right here, and I'm going to connect them to each a little what are they called? Where are it? Organization here. I'm going to connect a fluid buffer in front of each of them, because the speed which we are using these in is kind of the same speed on which we are producing it. So to remove any eventual fluctuations of production, I'm just going to use the fluid buffers just to be safe, because it's just a cheap little investment. You can see here it fills up, and it will completely solve this problem, if it would even arise. Not totally sure about that. Right, so let me just connect up the silica, and we are going to produce some coke, and we'll of course need a refinery for that. And I think we are going to have this refinery in-house. I need to get some copper sheets, but I'm going to show you when I've done a little bit more in my steps. Alright, so what have we done? We have merged the alumina solution, so everything outputs on this tab here, and of course the production being only 80 parts per minute, which means that 3 of these will fit quite nicely in one tube, so we don't need several tubes, which is, you know, if you will scale this up, you'll probably need to use more tubes, which I think is why this size is kind of the perfect size. So we have the alumina solution combined there. We also have the silica line in, coming around here, and we also merge it from these refineries, the silica that come out from them, to this line here. So we can kind of reuse the silica coming out, and we don't need to delete it. Then we of course have the raw oil. The raw oil is coming into here, into this tube in this wall, and we put it into this refinery here. This refinery will make heavy oil residue. Now I have researched an alternate recipe of heavy oil residue, and you will need to produce 60 coke per minute, and for this we'll need 20 oil residue. So of course you can actually select another recipe like plastic, for example, and this will give us only 10, I believe. Let's see, I think rubber is the better one. We'll need to go with this one. Isn't rubber the best one? Rubber, 2 meters. Yeah, rubber is the better one. Set this to rubber probably. if you don't have this alternate recipe, which I'm going to use here. It will be a little bit more cost efficient. And it produces 20 per minute. And this will go into this thing. Beautiful. 20 per minute, which produces 60 per minute of coke when I've dragged this down to 50%. So with my recipe, my alternate recipe, I can have both of this on 50%, but if you would actually do rubber instead, you'll have this in 100%, I believe. So, if I read that correctly, check the values yourself, they may even changed in an update. So, you know, when you watch this tutorial, just make sure that the numbers on your end are the same, because otherwise you'll need to adjust them to any update. So anyways, this sink is connected up, and the resin go in there, and the heavy oil residue goes into this beautiful thing, which makes coke. The coke will have outputted to our next facility. Our next facility will be a simple refinery, and the refinery will have the inputs of aluminium solution and as well the coke. It will output water as well as aluminium scrap. So we'll need to output the water to kind of connect it to that tube over there. So I'm going to build my refinery here. As you can see, refinery will here. And then we'll also need to have a foundry. So this is like not the last step, of course. It's actually a lot of steps making this kind of facility. So let's see. I'll be back when I've set this part up as well, so the video doesn't have to drag on too much. Alright, here we have the refinery in place. It's set up to produce aluminium scrap and water. So the aluminium solution goes right in here. And the only thing I have connected up is of course the power, because I wanted to show you when it's running. Let's just hope it works as I hoped. And here you can see the coke. Coke, sniff that stuff. No, don't. This is dangerous. Anyways, and the coke goes in here, and the aluminium solution as well. So you can see we are producing high levels of aluminium scrap, which already gotten up here. So the aluminium scrap is in these buckets, and we can also see that the water is flowing in the right direction. So we're just gonna check that water is indeed emptying as intended. Petroleum coke is coming in like that. And we have, you can see the flow rate is 280, which means that it fluctuates like this, and that means of course we are indeed producing the same level we are filling it here. So now we're just gonna check here that this is actually the case there. And oh, now we have the thing where we actually need to have to use the bauxite, no, not the bauxite, to use the silica from these refining towers that do refine the bauxite. We need to remove the silica, otherwise it stagnates completely and the production is completely stopped. So now we'll need to set up the last step, kind of how to make aluminium ingots, and that is we'll need to put in our beautiful foundry. We actually need a foundry for this. So I just want to check one last thing here, and that is that the water is flowing as intended. And also remember that this aluminium scraps, this one produces it with a speed of 360 per minute, which warrants at least a conveyor belt Mark IV, because the Mark III is too slow. Okay, and now we go up here, and oh yeah, of course the entire facility kind of stopped now because we have too much silica in the system. We'll need to get that foundry running, and we'll quickly solve the problem. So anyways, I've outputted the aluminium scrap here together with the silica, which means that we can put down the foundry here in the middle of the floor somewhere. Pretty handy. Alright, so here we have the foundry. We can locate it kind of like that, I believe, or maybe we can have it over here somewhere, or not. I guess this will be a decent position for this one. And now, remember that's Mark 4, so we'll need to have Mark 4 from this to this, of course. Seems we need to do some conveyor lift magic here. Is this the same level? I believe that's the same level. Here we have that one. Your Mark 4, yes. Now we can have the silica, which is put on a Mark 3 band, I believe. So Mark 3 there, I believe this is the same level. Mark 3 matched like that. Fantastic. Now these will start running again when we finally can empty out some silica there. And we'll need to connect up this one to power as well. Alright, so can we connect up the power nicely to this pole here? Yes, that looks quite nice, I believe. And I'm not totally pedantic about stuff, as I'm sure. I'm not totally pedantic, as I'm sure you notice with like stuff like that. I'm just quite pedantic. Now we go in here and you select aluminium ingot, and it will start producing 80 parts per aluminium per minute. However, this will be a little bit slower than the input. And to kind of match up and clock up the production as I want to, we'll actually need to boost this one to 50%, and we'll use 210 silica per minute and use 360 aluminium scrap per minute, which is exactly what this produces. You know, perfect, isn't it? Well, you can see we produce 120 aluminium ingots per minute. Pretty neat. Now we'll only need some copper to start producing alclad sheets, and that will do with a constructor, I believe. So I will make this look a little bit nicer, and we're going to run over to the copper mine and just connect that up so we can have a copper ingot production, so we can make those beautiful alclad sheets. Fantastic. Alright, so we made this beautiful little place quite a bit nicer. You can see we added some nice walls and everything. So basically, you know, as you remembered, like, or of course you remember, it's rather me, that we have the complete aluminium production set up. And now we also need to bring some copper to the table, which is why we've set up this little copper manufacturing facility right here that just makes copper ingots. Kind of one of your early game starter mines. We're gonna hook this up here. Now this is only a minor Mark 1 because we don't need more for this facility, just waste of energy. And it produces 60 parts per minute, which is a little bit too much. Because this use yeah, we can set this down to exactly 45 parts per minute. And look how beautiful. 45 parts per minute. It goes into these bastards. This one produces 30 per minute, like this. This one, on the other hand, produces only 15 per minute. So together, these should indeed produce 45. How fantastic. And these ingots go on this band to the, you know, 15 plus 30, 45 per minute. Mark II band, just because I don't want to waste too many iron plates, because I need them for other applications. That's kind of weird. And we can just hook it up here. And of course, this one makes aluminium. Here comes the copper. To actually make those beautiful alclad aluminium sheets, we need an assembler. In this assembler, we can select alclad aluminium sheet. And right now, this is the only thing I want to do with aluminium, because I haven't researched advanced aluminium production yet. I think there are new parts then, but as for now, we only need alclad aluminium sheets. You can see this uses 60 per minute. However, this one produces 120 per minute. So of course, and yeah, this will be 45. And you kind of guessed what I'm going to do. We're going to boost it 200%, and here we go. So of course, 120 per minute means conveyor belt Mark II at least. Hook it up there, and hook this one up here. And the ingots are going inside. How beautiful. This should now produce alclad aluminium sheet in the same amount of time that we can actually, fill it with our entire facility. If I have done my calculations correctly, we should be exactly, completely synced. Everything in this facility should be completely synced, and it's of course a slight possibility that something is wrong or something like that, but it should be kind of as near perfect as we can be. We can see the speed we produced alclad aluminium sheets is pretty nice, which is 60 parts per minute. So we can use them with a Mark I band to transport home if we want to. But something I always want to do when I'm producing things is to have containers of kinds between it, so we can have some kind of buffer. I'm not sure if you already knew this, probably you did, but splitters and mergers do actually have a possibility to contain 9 of whatever material they are transporting. This means that these act as some kind of buffer. Now we need to look at here though. Okay, good. They seem to drain them as quickly as they get refilled. So I just was worried with the bands stopping there, because we need a free flow out of silica for the production to go smoothly. But anyways, I of course need to finish up the finishing touches of this factory, which I think I'll do some other time, because I suspect that I will get some more cool aluminium stuff to make when I've researched the advanced ones. I actually haven't done this step before, so it's a new one for me too. But we'll get back, of course, probably we're gonna show our little bit more advanced aluminium production. But as for now, we kind of have everything done. So we'll spend the rest of this video with just making a little recap on your facilities and just checking that everything is going as smoothly as it should. All right. So to begin, we need a for my quote-unquote it's probably the only decent recipe you can make. I just did some calculations for you if you didn't want to do them yourself. But I'll just call it my setup because for simplicity. In my setup here, we'll have a production of 110 bauxite per minute from our mine. You can do this with combining several Mark I mines, Mark II mines, different types of purities of the sources. It just should amount up to 210. We will need water that's 240 meter 2 per minute, and this is of course 300. We'll get a flow of 300 here, but we are actually recycling some of the water as well. So the flow rate should be a little bit less than this if I haven't done something terribly wrong, of course, which is entirely possible. Here you can see the flow rate is we have our pump here. We're just going to check that it actually outputs enough water so it goes smoothly. It's like the checking run. And to even make this production possible, we of course need coke of some kind, and we solve this problem by drawing a pure line of raw oil to this place. We also need copper, and we'll need silica. Copper we'll only need to make the alclad aluminium sheets, but that's the only sensible thing we can do with the ingots right now. But we do need silica, and as I said, we do need 210 silica per minute, but with the added recycled ones from these, we only need 150 silica per minute. And the bauxite and the water can be completely divided up to three refineries that actually refine it to alumina solution, or alumina solution and silica. And you can see here it has enough water, and we do have the buffer over there too, so that the water will always flow smoothly. And we can now go to like the buffers here to make the alumina solution flow smoothly if there would be any kind of unevenness or whatever. So you can see it almost reaches 300 pumping through like this, very beautiful. And that of course goes to our refinery that refines the aluminium. And it does this with aluminium solution and also coke. We can see that we kind of have stuck here, and that means this one is full again. Okay, we're just gonna take that out. So now we'll get back to production, and it of course is a little bit delay for it to actually start. Okay, now we started again here. So it can finally start producing, and we can see that the water is indeed getting emptied quickly enough. It produces 360 parts per minute, which goes up in this little conveyor here into our foundry. Our foundry is boosted to 50% to actually use all this 360 aluminium scrap per minute, and we can actually, to stop this getting filled up, we can just empty this up, and we could probably get a little bit smoother flow of it. Alright. It seems that it does indeed fill up a little bit more. Oh, that's probably because we have stored up material from there. Yeah, never mind. We'll have stored up material from here and there, and that might add some fluctuations. But we boosted this foundry to 50% to match the aluminium scrap production, or use to production. So we actually use as much as we produce. Very handy. And that aluminium ingots goes into this one. That matches up the copper 45 per minute together with the 120 aluminium ingots we produce, and all of this is made into these alclad aluminium sheets. Full again. It's pretty quick, isn't it? And of course we need coke to make the refining process of the making the aluminium scraps. And for that I've used my alternate recipe, but you could instead just produce rubber. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters for me right here is that this is a little bit more energy efficient, so I kind of like that. And it feels better to waste polymer resin instead of rubber. I don't know why. It would be better to waste rubber, I think, for the coupon printer to be happy, because of course right now I don't have anything to use these two, so I'll just throw them in this bin. Basically pretty handy. You can of course make plastic or used rubber for something else, and if I will require plastic or rubber at this facility, I will of course change this recipe to make that on spot. And here, of course, we have the petroleum coke. It makes 60 per minute, which feeds the production. Pretty handy. Everything should be synced up and ready. And here the coke goes into that machine. Yes, I believe it should flow on pretty handily. And now let's see how full this is getting. We need to empty it quickly. Yeah, so that was the recap. That's basically how to set up your aluminium production. And, you know, it sounds a little bit complex, but it's not actually that complex when you start getting a hand of it. I understand what when you look at my facility, you might be just going like, holy shit, but it's not actually that complex. You'll just need to match the numbers I've given. 210 bauxite in any way, and you put them onto 3 of these that refines it, and you'll have a at least Mark II band of silica going into it, and you can refill it from these ones. You have it go into this one, and you have that one go to one refinery that makes refines it into aluminium scraps, just like that. Very simple. And of course you need some kind of coke in any way, and this is the setup for to make the coke. That's the only thing this makes, really. So you can of course have that production elsewhere, and you could even bring the coke in like with a train or with a truck or whatever. You don't need to have it on spot like I have. For me, just understanding that we need 3 refineries that make aluminium solution and having one foundry that's 50% boosted just makes all the difference. That's pretty basically how to set it up. The hardest part for me was to find a spot where I can drag the quartz, or the silica rather, and the oil, because we'll need, you know, a quartz source, an oil source, a copper source, a bauxite source, and did I forget anything? I don't know, it's just so much. Yeah, copper, oil, quartz, and bauxite. Is that the only thing? I think that's the only. Water. Of course we need water. Yeah, so that's basically it. I hope this little tutorial does help you to set it up, and when you just centralize the resources to one spot, it's not that hard. 210 bauxite, 3 refineries, 1 boosted foundry, and the rest explains itself pretty much. Just look at the values and you'll be happy. Add some buffers if you're unsure. And that's how to go. Good luck with setting up your aluminium refineries, and I'll see you next time. This is your host, Jim with SM Total Nerdy Channel, signing out. I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Bonus clip, here we go. Oh yes. I think this is the final time I'll press this button, to be honest. Probably, maybe, I'm not sure. No, not the final time. Never mind. We don't have so many times left.
Milestone reached. Advanced aluminum parts can now be produced, which are necessary to build the miner Mark III. Batteries can be used as a fuel source for vehicles.
Beautiful. Here we fly. And here it stops. Yeah, well, it's just an animation up there. Now, it's actually still up there, but we're just going to fly down here, so we can let the animation make it fly away and, you know, potentially not lag up the game. So there we have beautiful upgrade, beautiful upgrade. Now I have new buildings and stuff. Anyways, see you.